Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Cloud Ready Imagery for Distributed Teams, Consolidate, Cache, Collaborate, brought to you by GeoWeek News and sponsored by ROK Technologies. We have just a few housekeeping notes to go over before we officially get started today. If you need any technical assistance, we first recommend refreshing your browser. If you continue to have technical questions or issues using the On24 platform, please use the Q&A box and I will respond right away. There will be no call-in number for today's session. To connect, you need to have access to either a computer, tablet, or cell phone audio. Everyone has automatically been muted today. If you happen to get disconnected at any time, you can log on again using the instructions provided in your webinar confirmation email. If you continue to have trouble, please email info@geo-week.com and we will respond as soon as we can. For your convenience, everything in the webinar console is fully customizable, so you can move things around, resize the windows, and even turn on captions for this event. At the bottom of your console, you will find a resources box where you can download the slides as well as any additional content for today's presentation. And you can ask questions at any time during the presentation by submitting them through the Q&A box, and we'll do our best to leave time at the end of the session to answer as many questions as time allows. And finally, this webinar will be recorded, and you will receive a thank you email with the on-demand materials within 2 business days. And with all of that out of the way, I'd like to introduce our speaker for today. We have Matthew Plummer, GIS Managed Cloud Technician at ROK Technologies. Matt has a strong background in geography, GIS, and big data science with experience spanning imagery, navigation, and geospatial analytics. At Esri, he served as a senior support analyst and founded the Super Python Solvers program to streamline Python-based case resolution and elevate team efficiency. His expertise expanded at Mapbox, where he progressed from technical support engineer to QA engineer, leading quality initiatives for navigation products used by clients such as GM and BMW. Currently at ROK Technologies, Matt focuses on cloud-based imagery workflows and has helped over 25 clients migrate, manage, and maintain their aerial imagery through scalable, cloud-hosted solutions. And at this time, I would like to welcome our speaker and hand the webinar over to Matt. Welcome, Matt.
Hi, thanks so much for having me today. Hi, I am Matt Plummer. I've probably turned my camera on a little too early, but thank you so much for having us today. I'm with ROK Technologies, and again, welcome to our webinar, Cloud Ready Imagery for Distributed Teams, Consolidate, Cache, Collaborate. So first off, I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. Imagery is and can seem really, really complicated on the surface level, but once you take a step back and take a look at the bigger picture, I promise that wasn't a pun, but once you take a look at the bigger picture, it all starts to make sense. And this is also my cat, Tai Lung, get your nails trimmed, which she really doesn't like, but she's really cute. So how it all started, or I guess this process, what kind of got the wheels in motion. So Tiles on a Cloud is published in ROK User Online in 2009. This is a real article that was published in Esri's main publication. I'm sure some of you have brushed past ROK User Online in the past. And this article focused on a little GIS shop called ROK Technologies who had a client named flightplan.com. This client did flight maps, which would often get crushed at like random times with traffic, because specifically flight maps are not something that you really need until you really, really need them. You need to know exactly where a flight is going, so planes don't fly into each other and things like that. And these map services would get crushed. We couldn't predict the bandwidth, so we couldn't provision like a proper EC2 at a proper time. And they kept having to buy like this olden day hardware T1 lines to keep increasing bandwidth because that was their essentially the only solution they had was to keep increasing bandwidth and server to map service communication with their flight maps. So they came to ROK Technologies, and Jason Harris had an idea, who is currently the CTO of ROK Technologies. But just recently, and this is directly from the article, the map cache was introduced in ArcGIS Server. And the introduction of the map cache essentially allowed you to move, instead of referencing all of the data from the underlying database dynamically and then portraying it on a map, you could, for the first time, take the whole map service itself as an image and then cut it into smaller tiles and then stack all those tiles together into a package and move that package around to be referenced later on. So why use it? If you've ever seen like if you've ever been out in the field, like looking at a very slow base map, that individual tiles take like 6 to 8 seconds to load, so it has that time to talk to the database. This is definitely something that you can use nowadays, and the technology behind it has not actually changed that much, but the ability to produce servable caches and map caches has gotten dramatically easier over the years. So essentially, ROK Technologies brought this idea to Flight Plan and basically said, let's cache all of your flight maps and go from there. The problem, however, with just putting a giant cache, because it is thousands of images in like a pyramid form, sort of like packaged together, when you put that on ArcGIS Server, on the ArcGIS Server machine, it will bog down the machine. It's very, very heavy. It's a lot of data is in there, and then it will also eat up bandwidth because the ArcGIS Server machine is trying to talk to the local cache and then back and forth. So the solution that Jason Harris came up with was, let's take this big clunky map cache, right, and let's place it into cloud storage. And at the time, it was an S3 bucket, but this also works with Azure blob containers and even GCP storage. Basically, any kind of cloud compute that you're using, you can use this method with. And the thing that really drove this home and got FlightMap up and working, and the reason the article was written is because the cache being in the S3 bucket meant that there was no strain put on ArcGIS Server, and the S3 bucket was free to talk with ArcGIS Server without actually ever phoning home. So it was just all happening up in the cloud. There was limitless bandwidth at that point. No more T1 lines, no more adding more and more and more T1 lines to increase bandwidth. This is all happening. All that communication is just transmitting immediately in the cloud, and you have a lightning fast base map. So already kind of going into the strengths, but we can cache almost anything these days, which is really exciting. Vector tile layers, scene layers, elevation layers, imagery layers. This technology has, since this article has been written, Esri has only made it easier and easier and easier to cache whatever data you have as a layer and put it into ArcGIS Enterprise or ArcGIS Online and get things moving. So we still have a problem of a cache is a very, very large object. And to sort of get around this over the years at ROK Tech is we've used CloudFormation, which in AWS is sort of like a scripting service that lets you spin up virtual computers really fast, like EC2s or other infrastructure S3 buckets. You can do that basically at the click of a button. So we've developed a couple scripts over the years that let us spin up really, really hefty machines that can, through ArcGIS Pro, process and render all of this, these map caches in over the course of time that would have typically taken, potentially weeks or days. Now we can do that within hours. And the one I'm going to show you today took 7 minutes, which was great. It's a smaller data set, but it's a lot of fun. So again, we have the S3 bucket. We're able to spin that up in a programmatic way that just clicks right into your cloud. So that bandwidth is no longer an issue. The main strength I haven't even gotten into yet is just the cost efficiency of this option. Using an S3 bucket, you don't have to go out and buy a hard drive to store these large map tile caches or these servable caches. Flight Plan saved a bunch of money again on T1 lines, which was huge. It's a scalable pricing model, pay as you go. Budgets come in the form of year over year, and this really fits in well with how a lot of companies operate. Just for example, 1 terabyte of data in an S3 bucket or Azure Blob Storage costs around $30 a month. The same terabyte of EBS storage, which is essentially storage on a virtual machine, is about $80 a month, not even including the virtual machine or virtual computer itself. So far and away, this is the best option to decrease bandwidth and also save a lot of money and store your giant map caches effectively to create wicked fast base maps, which is great. So simply too good. Weaknesses, again, as we've been discussing through here, the imagery and the processes that go on in there, they do require onboarding. And we're going to go through it today. And I'm excited to show you how simple it can be. But it is also, to a lot of people, a very highly technical process that is getting easier and easier as Esri and AWS and Azure develop tools that align more and more. AWS and Esri actually just signed a partnership on or like a collaboration, which I'm very excited about because it makes it easier to use AWS and Esri products and Esri products in AWS. A standard sized Mosaic data set, say it's somewhere around 100 gigabytes. If you have really, really in-depth imagery, it will essentially take up a lot of space. The map package or the TPKX that you produce will sometimes, as you get into levels of detail like 21, 22, going past that like Google satellite view of like standard resolution, that map package will increase in size dramatically, or the map tile package will increase dramatically. And it can take days. If you have a large data set, Jason Harris just recently did the entire state of Ohio. And what we did, instead of, letting it take weeks or days, he essentially created a humongous machine and processed all of that data in a fraction of the time that it would have normally taken. So there still are drawbacks to every strategy that can be used, but we found ways to make sort of use that to our advantage in ROK Technologies, which is great. So we're great to work with there. Taking a step back, I just want to take like a high level view of what is actually going on when we say we are how we create a referenced raster tile layer that references a servable cache in S3, right? It's a mouthful, but the process is cheap and effective and really usable with the tools that we have. And we've been really successful in making use of a lot of our clients' backlog of data and turning that into usable layers in ArcGIS Enterprise. So I want to show you what that looks like. And we're going to do this in the context of baking a cake as well. So just so there's not like, I guess, spoilers, but what are you gonna do? S3 buckets, Azure Blob Storage, any type of cloud storage that you're using that is in that realm of blob storage, I want you to think about it as a refrigerator, right? Just a fridge, because that's where we're going to put all of our raw imagery. That's where we're going to put all of our raw ingredients to bake this map cache layer cake. And I want you to think about ArcGIS Pro as your oven, right? So this is where all of the baking is going to happen. This is where we're going to turn those raw ingredients into cake, right? So what do we need to do to make sure ArcGIS Pro can talk to the fridge and get the ingredients that it needs? We're going to create something called a cloud storage connection. And this is so easy. When I show you how to do it in the demo, you're gonna be like, what? It it is literally a right click in the catalog pane. But then we will have the ability to talk to the S3 bucket and bring that raw imagery, those TIFF files, those SID files, whatever you have, into ArcGIS Pro. Once we have it in ArcGIS Pro, we can create a mosaic data set, build overviews, and create a map tile package, right? And this is what will become that servable cache. And once we have that servable cache or the map tile package, we'll use a tool in ArcGIS Pro called Extract Package that takes our map tile package and then essentially unzips it and uploads it to the S3 bucket or Azure Blob, whatever storage you're using, as a servable cache. And essentially it does this by unzipping the TPKX and adding the .tile suffix. This makes it so that when Portal for ArcGIS shows up and is really hungry and is like, I need a raster tile layer cache cake fast. That means that all Portal has to do is build something called a cloud store. We're calling it a cloud store. It's just a data store. It's just a data store that connects to an S3 bucket rather than ArcGIS data store or like a folder or something like that. It's very simple, but cloud store can sometimes kind of sound scary. But just know cloud store is a cloud storage data store. So Portal builds this cloud store. Now Portal can talk to the S3 bucket and say, I want to build a raster tile layer. And I brought my I brought my raster tile layer bowl and I'm hungry for some servable cache. Fill me up. S3 bucket now here's that because it can connect through this cloud store, right? And says, oh, sure thing. Here you go. Bam, servable cache in my bowl, ready to eat. Now this is great because at this point you can share layers in any sort of capacity that you already want to. You can collaborate in any sort of way. Sharing layers within your organization, outside of your organization, updating sharing rules, things like that. But the really, really cool thing about this is comedy, laugh track, Seinfeld baseline, ArcGIS Online shows up and is like, hey, that raster tile layer is looking really good. And then Portal is like, I have no way to talk to you. ArcGIS Online says, let's go ahead and build a distributed collaboration. I'm going to pull on that as a reference. So now different organizations can now partake in the same root imagery that they can partake in the same root imagery that is referencing one source of truth, one S3 bucket. And this is huge for deduplicating workflows and sharing that single source of truth. To reiterate, Consolidate, I'm going to mess this up. I've heard it so many times, but the French term for getting all the ingredients together. Cloud storage is your fridge. Put all of your raw imagery into an S3 bucket, create the cloud storage connection in ArcGIS Pro so that your oven can talk to your fridge, create the data store that references the S3 bucket in Portal for ArcGIS. So your table can talk to your fridge and get ingredients from there. Your fridge can now access the oven and the table. You are linking up your kitchen and making sure those ingredients can flow throughout the kitchen. Cache, bake. ArcGIS Pro is your oven. You can do anything. You can create the coolest mosaic data sets. You can pull imagery directly in, and whatever that you create in ArcGIS Pro with the vast library of tools that is there, all you really have to do for a lot of that stuff is just use the extract package tool. So you build these huge packages. It takes a bunch of rendering time. It's this like super intricate data set, amazing imagery, amazing scenes, amazing vector tile, base maps, anything, imagery as well. And you just extract package and you got a usable servable cache back home in your fridge for you to use in ArcGIS Enterprise. And then finally collaborate. And to really serve out your data, if you want to collaborate in a very secure way. Use distributed collaborations to push two dining room tables together. Really just lengthen your table to share with other organizations that you work closely with. And this is huge for anyone at the state level. So if you're in the Department of Transportation, you can share the same exact map with the Department of Natural Resources and say, hey, I'm about to build this road. I don't want to go over some like dangerous stuff like happened in right outside Penn State in Pennsylvania a while back. Which is really interesting. They built a highway through, like, essentially, I believe it was like a sulfur hill, and a bunch of geologists were like, no, don't do that, don't do that. And then they did, and then rain hit it, and it became poisonous and killed everything below below the hill. So now, not saying that Imagery would have resolved that issue. It's just a really interesting case if you ever want to go look it up. But having a single source of truth among agencies is huge, and there's a few different ways to do that, and we'll get into them more later on. But gotchas and pitfalls, just want to talk about this really quick. If the fridge is in a different region than the oven, right, before you go and create an S3 bucket and an EC2, or try to connect an S3 bucket to Pro that you use on your local machine, just watch out for that. It can get expensive with data transfer costs. So if you ever have questions about like, hey, will this mess up a data transfer cost? My email is up there somewhere. So feel free to reach out to us. Definitely in ArcGIS distributed collaborations, something hefty like a cache, you want to share that as a reference to ArcGIS Online rather than a copy, just so you don't eat through your credits really fast. And then there are times where a distributed collaboration, if a lot of people are going to be hitting the service, maybe something that would work better is, sharing via AWS data sync and basically syncing an Azure blob with an S3 bucket. There's a lot of different strategies to get around costs, but the number one thing that you can do is tag your cloud storage to track costs and set alerts. So if something's going wrong, and you can make the necessary strategy adjustments to fix that. So I'm going to take you through a little demo really quick. It's exciting and cool and good and fun. And I think that you'll like it. That's a lot of adjectives. I think you'll like it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen real quick. Okay, just waiting on this here. And wow, okay, that's going. All right, sharing my screen. And I'm going to share the entire screen. Oh, yeah, okay, cool. All right, we're back in business. So at the beginning, I mentioned several strategies that we have at ROK to essentially mitigate costs and build map tile packages as quickly as possible and get you up and running with your imagery as fast as possible. So one way in which we do that is we have some proprietary cloud formation templates. And so in a few clicks, we can basically run these scripts to get something up and running like this. This ROK Cloud Cache demo S3 bucket. And this clicks right into the same cloud, or like VPC, but like general cloud, if you will, of this EC2 that we've also created. And this EC2 has also come from the CloudFormation template, and it's just like supercharged, ready to cache, and we already have ArcGIS Pro on there. So let's go ahead and open it. So if we go to connect, I'll go ahead and download this remote desktop file. And when I open that remote desktop file, it looks a little bit something like this. And this EC2, or virtual machine, essentially, that we built from the CloudFormation template is supercharged, ready to go. So we have ArcGIS Pro, we open a new map, right? We are ready to get to business, essentially. So what is the first thing that we can do? The first thing that we would recommend doing is going ahead and adding that cloud storage connection. So we're going to go new cloud storage connection. And from here, I'm going to bring in my the credentials that I used or created along with this S3 bucket. I'm going to go ahead and enter them here in when trying to create the, sorry, not in that pro. I'm actually going to close out of that pro really quick. So I'm going to go ahead and add the credentials here. So our service provider is going to be Amazon. I'm going to select that there. Access key and ID, bucket name, which is going to be ROK Cloud Cache Demo, and I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Once I'm not going to actually put the credentials on the screen just because, but imagine I hit OK, and then we have our cloud store. And if you notice something really interesting about this cloud store is that it is showing everything just like it would on my local computer, what is actually happening in S3, the S3 bucket itself right now. There is actually no need to ever go into the console or use the CLI when creating a cloud cache. Esri has created tools to essentially let you cut this out of your life a little bit if you would like to. From a GIS standpoint, obviously you can't really create an S3 bucket from ArcGIS Pro. It would be cool if you could, but you can't. Maybe one day. So the next step that we're going to do is we're going to talk for a brief second about optimized rasters. So all of the things that we have just discussed, that we talked about, essentially creating, creating a cache. It builds pyramids. We build overviews to essentially have it serve out really quickly. The same thing sort of occurs with cloud optimized geotiffs. And cloud optimized geotiffs, the name is really long, it sounds confusing. Essentially, all that it's doing is taking your raw imagery, and you can sort of think of it as like prepping your ingredients, right? So it takes your raw imagery and then restructures it in a way, essentially does the same thing that a cache does. It cuts it into pieces, into tiles, and then builds up with overviews. So it can essentially serve out individual images really quickly and efficiently. So there is this really cool tool on GitHub that I will share the URL in for later, but you can look it up on Google, on GitHub. It is essentially just the optimized rasters tool, and you can download the toolbox. I would highly recommend it, and you can open it, and it looks like this. And from here, you can set the configuration file. I want to change my imagery into a cloud optimized geotiff. Set that there. Have your input path as well. This is where you would put like your S3 bucket info. You essentially build like a profile that is how you talk with your S3 bucket through this tool, and you can input all of your data and output it in the S3 bucket as well. So I'm gonna, after not filling out any of those options, hit run, and I just got super lucky because I ran this earlier, and I have my cloud optimized geotiffs here. Right, so these are servable, they are ready to use, ready to go. I would highly recommend the use of cloud optimized geotiffs in all of your cloud workflows. So back to creating the cache. What do we need to do first? Well, essentially, we can kind of do most of this from the catalog, which is really nice. So we would go to database, right-click our enterprise geodatabase, and we would go to new Mosaic dataset, right? And here we are creating a Mosaic dataset, basically just like the backbone or structure that sews all of our images together in like this nice blanket. So Mosaic dataset name, gonna say Central Park, no spoilers, but we're going to Central Park today. And the everything else you can just kind of leave the same, hit run. That will produce a Mosaic dataset that looks like this. Sorry, I didn't type it exactly the same way, but it looks like this. So when this is added to the map, you'll see right now we are just north of Times Square in Central Park. And we have all this imagery is coming directly from the S3 bucket. I'm not sure if we showed that part actually, so just to drive it home, again, well, actually, the way that we would add those images is right. Um, the initial sort of mosaic data set is just an empty skeleton. So from there, we would go to add rasters. There's already rasters on there. But we can go to add rasters, and then from there, we would hit this plus button, right? And then we can actually go to project and then cloud stores. And we would go to this cloud store and we would pull directly from our cogs. So we would say, change this to all types and hit our cogs and hit open. And then essentially from there, all we would have to do is hit run. And once we hit run, then our imagery would appear right here. And we have Central Park, which is very exciting because it's beautiful this time of year. The leaves are really nice. The only imagery I can find is in winter, so the leaves are not looking as nice, but it's still looking good. So the next step, essentially, we would build overviews, and from there, after we build the overviews that sort of are like resampled, or I believe the term is downsampled, sort of like images that piece together the mosaic data set a little bit. So you have like your tiles, and then there's like in between shots, or like overviews of several tiles that are downsampled and help the map snap into place and load really fast. So we would build those overviews, and then we would go and create a map tile package. So I'm just going to use this guy here that I used earlier, and the main things that you have to be aware of when creating a map tile package is a few things. One, you want everything to be in the same projection, and other things relative to that are you definitely want to remove the Esri base maps, because you can't really create a map tile package of Esri's map tile services. I feel like that is stealing technically. So we're stuck with our own data. The other thing you're going to want to do is go to your map and go to properties and ensure, because it's making a map tile package of the whole map that's on screen right now, metadata, description, you want to have something in there or else the tool will not work. I don't know why that is, but that's just how it is. And if we zoom in here, the way you can test for maximum level of detail is, let's go to the Bethesda fountain, right? And this is taking a while because it's just a bunch of imagery, stuck together in a mosaic data set. Bethesda fountain was built in 1842 to celebrate the Catskills Aqueduct, letting mountains come down from the Catskills Mountains into New York City, which really needed fresh water because it didn't really have it, and it was really gross. And now it's really clean-ish. So from there, we can kind of get an idea. Once it starts getting blurry, we're around 1 to 238. So we want to select a maximum level of detail that is about, 21 is looking good there, right? And then a minimum level of detail, or about like 0.6 square miles or something like that for Central Park. You kind of want to get somewhere that's like zoomed out enough where you can see the whole thing, or like 1 to 36,000 right there. So we're going to make the minimum level of detail like, yeah, level of detail 14 looks good, 1 to 36,000. Yeah, so from there, we want package type to be TPKX, and environments. This is the other important part. Well, another important part. Tiling format you want to be PNG 8-bit. It's good, and it also helps with like background stuff. We want package for ArcGIS Online big maps to be checked. If you want a custom projection, you would uncheck this and then use your custom projection file. Output can stay right there. Environments, we built this machine to create this cache, right? This is going to be the most labor intensive part of this for the machine. If we just type in 100% here, percent sign is necessary for some reason, but I kind of like it. It's like a good luck charm. We can go ahead and then run this and hit click. And this level of data on such a big machine, it took me about 7 minutes to create. So I don't want you to sit through that. So I pre-did it. But again, with data sets as large as the state of Ohio, can take days or however much time is necessary. So now we have this map tile package, and if we were to add it to the map, it actually looks pretty good. It looks pretty much exactly the same. There's some slight in this case there's a bit of like mild discoloration that we could actually adjust when we're creating the map tile package layer. There's a bunch of options up here for mosaic layer and stretch type and things like that. But let's leave that to the side for today. So we have our TPKX ready to go. It is functioning, and it might not be snapping into place as fast as we want it to right now, because ArcGIS Pro has to essentially go unzip it, look at the tile, put that tile out there for us to display, and then put it back. So what we're going to do to make this a usable map service is we're going to go to geoprocessing, and we're going to use that super powerful, awesome, nice tool called extract package. So all we have to do with extract package is take that TPKX that we just produced, and that's down here on our D drive, right? And we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And then the target cloud connection, again, we are going to be using our cloud store or our cloud storage connection. And we're going to upload it there and just say OK. And this part's really important. We want to check this box that creates a ready to serve cache data set and hit run. And this took about 10 minutes for this to run. It's just basically unzipping that tile package and that TPKX, and it's adding a .tile suffix and messing around with some of the files on the inside so that portal for ArcGIS can read it. So now we are done with our oven. The food has been baked. How do we get it onto this table? It's actually pretty easy. It's very easy. It's very nice, and the process is probably it's a very satisfying part of the process. So I'm going to go ahead and click New Item. We're going to create a data store, because remember, a cloud store is just a data store to an S3 bucket. So it gets the fancy title, but we're going to create a cloud data store. Hit Next. It's going to be Amazon S3. We're going to do the credentials thing that we did earlier, add in all of our credentials. And I'm going to name this one, the keys demo. And it's not because I did a demo earlier that was about the Florida Keys, because that's not what happened. I'm just feeling like naming it the keys. So we create that cloud storage connection. And there's the keys demo cloud storage connection that I created for this and not the other demo. And I'm hitting settings, and we're taking a look at it, and it is connected, registered with ArcGIS server, and we can take a look at credentials, mess around with them, but it's working. So we're going to leave that cloud storage connection the same. Our table can now access the fridge where we've uploaded our cache cake, the Central Park servable cache. So if we go back to content and we go New Item, and we put our bowl on the table and say, I want a hot bowl of cache in a raster tile layer, we can go ahead, click raster tile layer, click select dataset and data store. And then we're going to pick the keys demo cloud store, because that's where our stuff is. That's where the fridge is. We're going and we are opening up the fridge. We're taking our bowl and we're looking at the cache cake. We're going to select that and we're going to hit next. And then we're going to say, yeah, that's fine. That, it's this server is going to be the one referencing the bucket. We're going to hit next. And we're going to name this Central Park Aerials 2024. Just kidding. Yeah, we're going to give it Central Park Aerials 24. And we're going to hit save. Okay. And once I do that, big click, so like, okay, I already did this part too. Once we hit save and do that, we have Central Park Aerials 2024 right here. And we open it up and we take a look. And we have our raster tile layer using the tile data set that we uploaded to the S3 bucket. And it is quick. Gone are the days of standing out in the field and waiting 6 to 8 seconds for a map tile service to load. Gone are the days of things taking forever. Gone are the days of ArcGIS server crashing because you put a whole cache on that server. We did all of this without having to worry about the bandwidth on ArcGIS server, on our ArcGIS server machine, because it is all coming from S3. All of this is just S3 data, and it's quick. If you take a look here at developer tools, we can actually see how fast the tiles themselves are coming in. And you just don't get anything that's over. It is hard to get anything over 100 milliseconds when you're just panning and zooming around. It is fast and usable. And if you have a bunch of data sitting around on a hard drive, or even worse in elastic block storage or on your virtual machine storage, and it's just taking up space and it's not usable, this is the solution for you. We did all of this without having to worry about bandwidth on the ArcGIS server because it's all coming from S3, without filling up storage on ArcGIS server because it's all coming from S3, and without using ArcGIS server because we did it all on ArcGIS Pro. It's a good process. Sorry, I feel like a lot of that was really mean to ArcGIS server. ArcGIS server is like really solid, but it's nice that you don't even have to interact with it to make something make something good, and you don't have to put any strain on it. So the final part, and collaboration on this can happen any way that you want within your own portal organization. Sharing layers can happen any way you want. This is your base map to do with what you want. And you can do the same with vector tile layers, scene layers, elevation layers, imagery layers. That was the one thing that I wanted to mention really quick. Do you remember how we made raster tile layers we made cloud optimized geotiffs and put them in our S3 bucket. Well, those cloud optimized geotiffs, because we have ArcGIS image server connected with or federated with Portal, so in our own environment, I can go ahead and click imagery layer, and I'll just do one image for now because I don't want to go crazy. But we can go from data store, pick up the cloud storage, the cloud store, and look into, open the fridge. What ingredients are in there? And we can go ahead and open up our cogs folder, and I'll just select the first one, hit next. And we'll call this Central Park appetizer because we're serving it fresh out of the fridge. We're not even baking a cache or anything. I'm gonna hit create. Definitely just hit. Okay, yeah, I'm gonna hit create. I did this beforehand too, so sorry for. But when we create this imagery layer, right, and here is like the really powerful part of leveraging your S3 or Azure Blob or cloud storage in the cloud. When we look at this layer, this cloud optimized geotiff, and it's going to take a little longer to show up because it's not cached, but it still is a cloud optimized geotiff. We are now about to be looking at, there we go. Okay, cool. Brand new layer. What are you going to do? But we are, this is coming directly from S3, and the big part with this is that we have on this layer we have pixel value discovery. And that is huge for elevation, for workflows, for anything that you want to do. You can now do it. And I'm going to take it a step further as well, just in terms of usefulness of like the how you can share with different organizations and things like that. We have imagery layers that have all of the benefits of imagery layers. We have super fast base maps, but if we want to put that all together, and we want to share it securely with a different organization, all we have to do is create a distributed collaboration for the use of this one. I went ahead and created a distributed collaboration with our ROK Technologies, our own ArcGIS Online organization. And all I have to do is go here and just go to content and add items to group. And I already did again, so sorry for getting you all hyped up for the add button. But I essentially, once we add them to this group here, we're going to go over to ArcGIS Online, wherever that is. I think it's around here somewhere. Right. Okay. I'm going to go to ArcGIS Online. This is a completely different, there's like a completely different, this is an entirely separate organization. The only thing linking these two is this distributed collaboration. And I'm going to go to groups and go to the distributed collaboration group that I set up. And then I'm going to open up the tile layer. And the really, really cool thing about this is that it's not copied to ArcGIS Online. None of this is copied to ArcGIS Online. But rather it is ArcGIS Online creating a reference layer that is referencing an S3 bucket from ArcGIS Online in our ArcGIS Enterprise organization far away. And, all of the work that I've done this weekend, all of the reference costs, you're referencing an S3 bucket that's in a different region. It cost me about 2 cents just like going in and panning around. So at scale, there are different strategies that we would use. But the most ideal situation is like you have two ArcGIS Enterprise organizations deployed in the same AWS region, and then it's all free. Like you are basically good to share as much content as you want. Works great at the state level. And yeah, if not, you can use AWS Data Sync to copy from bucket to bucket. And that is my time. Thank you so much for coming to this demo. And I'd love to take any questions that you might have.
Excellent. Thank you, Matt. We have saved time for Q&A today. As a reminder, if you have not already done so, to submit your questions, you can use the Q&A box on your screen and hit send to submit them. And our first question here, someone's wondering, is it possible to create the map tile package on-prem, then upload that to S3 to share to Portal?
Absolutely, yes, it is. I would actually, just to that's actually how I started out doing it on my own computer. And the reason we came up with the EC2 and building the massive EC2 to do this is one, because you get to leverage S3 in ArcGIS Pro, which is a lot of fun and is really fast. And two, the creating map caches just bogged my whole local machine down. So I was like, hey, I'm like typing an email and trying to do other work, and I just couldn't do anything. So it was a really good option to have like a dedicated machine there.
Excellent. Thank you. And I've had a few people asking if this recording will be available. Yes, so this webinar is being recorded, and everyone will automatically receive the recording within 2 business days. So all attendees will automatically get that in your inbox within 2 business days. And another question here, how much faster is the cloud cached base map shown today compared to a locally cached base map?
That is a great question. So the cloud cache base map, because and I can go back and share my screen here. So this this base map here, even when it's coming over on ArcGIS Online, if it's coming through the distributed collaboration, even in ArcGIS Online over here, we have tools, dev tools, and okay, so we have network is showing. So even here where it's traversing across the internet, it's coming in at all of this is loading in under 100 milliseconds, like a tenth of a second. And when you have your S3 bucket in the same cloud as your portal machine, that goes even faster, and it's just like lightning speed. The problem with the local cache is that it relies super heavily on the specs of your machine, right? So even if you have a virtual machine that's doing really well, but you're running other processes on it, say your ArcGIS server is, you have a bunch of caches, you fill up storage, the thing, which can cause, if you fill up the C drive, it crashes. It's really just dependent on how big and heavy your ArcGIS server machine is. So it's very pay to play, right? Local caches, I've seen them run as slow as 6 to 8 seconds for a single map tile to load. And I'm sure you have working out in the field as well, or just trying to get something done, and the base map just doesn't snap. This is guaranteed, cheaper storage and limitless bandwidth, because it's none of it is referencing a local machine that has its own life and thing going on.
Thank you. And does ROK Technologies handle this entire process?
Yeah, we do. Or we'll teach you too. I love. It was really cool. One of my favorite clients, Rick, I had like this it was like a couple weeks long just set of meetings to really like drive home like how they could use it in their organization and how it would work best. And he just hit me up with like this email the other day. He was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go do this with like a servable cache or with a scene layer now. Do you wanna help? Could you help out with this?" And I responded to him because I didn't see it. And the next day he was like, "Oh, I already got it. Like here's like a written thing of how I did it." So I think one of the coolest parts of the job is doing this process, because it's cool and fun and high tech, but also handing this process off to you and your organization to get the most use out of your GIS data in the cloud and really leverage that imagery.
Thank you. And another question here. Do you have any thoughts on how to design a pipeline that uses imagery in S3 and ArcGIS portal to generate labeled training data for feature extraction models?
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Thank you for asking that. So I don't know if you saw on the Esri UC main stage, but the city of Chattanooga, Tennessee, they actually got on the Esri UC main stage, doing that essentially to assess road damage, and where the Department of Transportation or whoever was taking care of the roads had to go and inspect and check out, and they essentially got this like cool map at the end. That is our client. Uh, Sorry, I actually don't know if I'm allowed to. Anyways, we work with the city of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I really hope in the future to be doing another webinar based on machine learning pipelines and how you can leverage that data in in an S3 bucket where you have like scalable, almost limitless storage, and gain these really useful insights that cut down and streamline field workflows.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt. And right now, this next question is the last one I have right now. So if anybody has been holding on to their questions, please enter those into the Q&A box sooner rather than later so that we have time to address those today. And the question here is, what other types of services can be cached and served out of cloud storage?
Yes, that is such a good question. Specifically, you have vector tile layers, right? So any vector-based maps that you use that you can actually place right on top of your, raster tile-based map. So great for imagery and yes, LiDAR data is also fair game. Elevation layers can be cached and then published in the exact way that we did today. I think there's literally an option for elevation layer um, that you can choose. So elevation, vector, raster, just a standard map service as well can be cached, and then imagery layers as well. So, and Esri just keeps adding on more things like ArcGIS reality servers coming soon too. So I'm excited to see how things progress with that as well.
Excellent. Thanks, Matt. And it looks like that was our last question today. Not to put you on the spot, Matt, but do you have any final words or thoughts you'd like to share with everyone before I officially close us out?
Yeah, for sure. I think I said this a couple times, but um, cloud cache workflows that reference cloud storage, you can really leverage the use of S3 buckets and Azure blobs in your enterprise environments. And I really do believe that ArcGIS Enterprise is moving this way because it's cheaper and there is no more need for worry about bandwidth or storage constraints. So yeah, if you are interested, definitely come hit us up at any time. You can shoot me an email. I think my email was down there somewhere as well. But even if you're just stuck on any part of this whole process or want to try out for yourself, yeah, definitely feel free to give me a ring. And thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. And if you want to stop sharing your screen, Matt, I'll push here to the slide that has your contact information. So that's front and center for everybody here. And I just have a few housekeeping notes to go over before we officially close out today. If you could please fill out the short evaluation form that will appear on the webinar console shortly. This will help us better serve your needs in future webinars. And as a reminder, there have been many people asking, the on-demand materials will be emailed to everyone within 2 business days, and this will include a PDF of the slides as well as the link to the recording of today's presentation. So you'll automatically receive that in your inbox within 2 business days. And thank you again, Matt, for a great presentation today. And thank you to all of our attendees for taking the time out of your busy days to join us. This webinar was brought to you by GeoWeek News and sponsored by ROK Technologies. Thank you all and have a great day.
Thanks so much.